he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
Okay, guys, I'm still kind of in shock over the news that Charlie Kirk was shot at a Utah campus event. I've seen the videos. They're chilling. They're disgusting. Really terrifying stuff. But we've got to talk about this. I might crash out a little when we watch this. MSNBC. I mean, the on-air coverage to this from this liberal cable news outlet is despicable. It is horrible, horrifying. I have some grace for, news anchors and guests that are on air as news breaks. I've been in that situation, and it is hard to say when you don't know much about the thing that's just happening, but you don't have to do this. An MSNBC guest, Matthew Dowd, basically victim blamed Charlie Kirk and made some insane suggestions on air as this was all happening. Watch this.
Talk to me about the environment in which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
What on earth did I just watch? What kind of sick, demonic, twisted crap did I just listen to? He is victim blaming. Charlie Kirk is in the hospital. They're bleeding from being shot in the neck. And this guy is like, well, he was wearing a short skirt. He, said mean things that hurt people's feelings sometimes. So what do you expect? Sir, what? Seek Jesus. Seek the Lord, seek therapy, seek help. You're sick in the head. And I'm sure you've said a lot of things over the years as a professional political strategist and pundit that other people find very offensive and hateful. They still have no right to try to kill you. That's insane. You're crazy. I don't know what's going on. Like, political pundits and journalists of all people should understand how evil this kind of thing is, how destructive. And yet you have this guy yapping his gums like this. Sick stuff. Now, like I said, I understand and I have compassion for, not compassion, but I have understanding that, like, when you're on air as news is breaking, you don't know what to say, but you don't have to say that. You don't have to start insane speculation. What do you mean? There's reports that Charlie Kirk, a hated political figure, there's a shooting at his event, and your first thought is maybe it was one of his supporters shooting a gun in the air. What? That's like as a celebration. That's not a thing people do. That's a very strange thought to have, sir. Like, now at least that one is just stupid. It's just goofy. Like, you just sound dumb. You don't sound evil by saying that. It just is weird. You're assuming the least logical thing that it could be. The obvious thing it could be would be likely a shooting attempted at Charlie. But of course, you don't want to overstate that before you know. But why would you speculate, oh, it must have been one of his supporters shooting a gun in the... It's silly. It's bizarre. But even that one, okay. I can give you a pass on that, maybe. I mean, I still think you probably shouldn't be in broadcast journalism if you can't adapt on the fly without saying something so stupid. But okay, say I give you a pass on that, right? Because it's the fog of chaos of a breaking news story. You're on air. You don't even have time to look at it because you're literally on air. There's no pass for what came next. This attempt to... I don't care if Charlie has said things that are controversial over the years that are offensive to some people. That is his right. That is free speech, Cupcake. That is the definition of what free speech is protecting the ideas and expressions that offend people. And Charlie said things that I object to, that I find offensive. It doesn't matter. Nothing justifies violence against him. Nothing justifies somebody trying to shoot him. This, guys, you can tell. This hits a little home for me because I am, nowhere near as relevant or influential as Charlie Kirk, but I'm like a tiny little mini version of something similar. We do somewhat similar work in a similar space, and it hits home for me that some people literally think, oh, well, he got shot because he was saying his opinions. By the way, he often has very respectful civil dialogues and debates on campuses. So he was doing that. I believe this was all during a Q&A. Well, but he should have thought of that when he said hateful things. It might lead to hateful actions. That is from the progressives in the room. The most insane mental gymnastics, victim blaming bullshit I've ever seen. He could say the most hateful things in the world. I'm not saying he has, but he could. And you still wouldn't be justified in shooting him. It still wouldn't be okay to victim blame him while he's bleeding out. It's insane. It's genuine. And you wonder why people hate the media. Why people don't trust the mainstream media. I've never liked this rhetoric about like the media is the enemy of the people or all this, because I think the media is such a big institution. And there's so many people, as somebody who was a journalist, still doing good and important work in it. But then you have loudmouths and crazy people like this that besmirch the whole industry and make people hate. I understand why people who see that are like, yeah, the media is the enemy of the people. Totally understand. I really do. And now, of course, that's not most people. It's just one guest on one channel, but it's sick stuff. It shows that you have dehumanized conservatives or MAGA or whatever you have decided that they are, that suddenly you want to justify why they might be shot at. I don't know how this person sleeps at night, Matthew Dowd of the MSNBC contributor and political strategist. I would really, he should be never allowed on air again, to be clear. Like, this is a disgraceful and disqualifying thing to say. What have we come to in the media that we're doing this to the other side? Seriously, like, it's bleak. It's bleak. And again, none of this happened in a vacuum. They cheer for Luigi. They do glowing profiles of the sexy alleged assassin. People spread conspiracies or even are sad that Trump wasn't successfully assassinated in Butler. All of this, we're in an environment of political violence and rhetoric at an extreme and constantly getting ratcheted up. And we do have kind of an assassination meme culture emerging, particularly on the online left, where there have been terrible acts of political violence against Democrats as well. Just multiple Democratic state lawmakers were murdered by a crazy, I think, right-wing psychopath just a couple months ago. And that is evil and that is vile. And I condemn that with every fiber of my being, as do most of the people I know. But only, I think, on the online left is there a culture where lots of people openly cheer for it. Even now I'm seeing on Reddit, on Blue Sky, on these other platforms, people cheering that Charlie was shot or mocking him or saying good. And if we can't coexist, we can't have a country. If we cannot coexist with people who disagree with us, and if we cannot settle our differences with debate and discussion and elections and voting, and if we resort to this kind of thing, this is a path towards civil war. And I'm not the type to say crazy shit, but like, I'm telling you now, I'm just on a human level rooting for Charlie because whatever our difference is, he's a person, he's a father, he's a man, he deserves to be there when his kids grow up. Like, I'm just rooting for him on that personal level with every fiber of my being. Beyond that, though, our country is so cooked if he does pass away because of this, or if he was killed from something like this, because he's such an influential figure that will absolutely radicalize many more people on the right. It might inspire retaliation, shouldn't, and no matter what, that's still not justified. But I'm saying, you see what a dangerous path we are on, and how this could only get worse, and how this could spiral out of control and tear our country apart at its seams. Political violence is a cancer. It is like a virus that infects a society, and it starts a tit for tat and a tit for tat. And at the end, it's like a literal war and violence in the streets. And if you think that can't happen just because we're America or what have you, you're kidding yourself. It can. And that's why it's so irresponsible for people in these important positions of power, like MSNBC analysts, for example, to be putting out this crap. and saying, well, he was a guy who did hate speech, so what do you expect? Do you have no sense of obligation or morality or common decency, sir? Seriously. This is why I take issue when politicians encourage political violence. I criticized Trump heavily when he cheered on violent riot at the Capitol on January 6th. Other people who cheered on freaking Black Lives Matter riots and looting that killed dozens of people. All of this is destructive and evil and bad. And all of it takes us a step and a step and a step and a closer to chaos and bloodshed. And I'm really, really worried, guys. But shame on this MSNBC guest. I don't know. The host should have kicked him off the show immediately, called him out in real time. I don't think she did that, but wow, things are bleak. I'm praying for Charlie. I'm not even the praying type, but I'm going to go say a prayer for him. I hope you do as well. And thank you guys for watching. We'll be back to our normal programming, I'm sure, at some point. But for now, I just figured we should hop in and talk about this story as it's unfolding, because I'm glued to my screens. I'm glued to my feeds. I'm horrified and touched by this story in a way that I am not always by the news. Have very rarely actually been by the news. This one hits home for me, and I think it will. A lot of people will feel that way. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll talk again soon, hopefully with good news.